r/NoSleep. Posted by u/lifeisstrangemetoo. Satan offered me a job. I took it. Final. Frank and Teddy ushered me into Daryl's department, a dim little office lit by flickering fluorescent lights. "The new satanic thrall has arrived," announced Frank and Teddy. Daryl walked up and eyed me up and down. He was a short and bespectacled reptilian demon with a large potbelly that strained the buttons of his shirt. He looked over his spectacles at me with a look of slack disinterest. "Jerry Smith, master of satanic magic?" he said. "There has been a mix-up," Frank and Teddy said. "This is David Robbins, master of satanic accounting." Just accounting," I said. Daryl crossed his arms and wrinkled up the leathery skin of his face. "What am I supposed to do with a regular Earth accountant?" he asked. "This is no good. Tell Satan to send him back up." "We can't send him back," he replied. "He's already signed the contract." Daryl sighed and rubbed his forehead. He turned around and beckoned over his shoulder at me. "Come on this way," he said. "I'll show you to your desk." He led us to a small but hefty-looking metal desk with a leg manacle attached to the bottom. "Don't worry," Daryl said when he caught me eyeing it. "We don't use the chains anymore. New labor regulations and all that." "That's great," I said faintly. "So I assume you know what you'll be doing here then?" he asked. The contract would have been very detailed. "Well, it was written in Old Enochian," I said. Daryl peered over the top of his glasses again. "You mean to tell me that you can't read Old Enochian?" he asked. "Yes, that's right." Daryl pulled off his spectacles and rubbed his eyes. "And yet Satan still refuses to let the department heads interview new candidates," he said despondently. "Well, I hate to break it to you, but it's nothing exciting. In this department we basically serve as middlemen. We deal with the buying and selling of souls." "Who would buy a human soul?" I asked. "Various cosmic entities." "What do they do with them?" I asked. Daryl shrugged. "We don't really deal with that in this department," he said. "I always thought hell was the final destination for damned souls," I said. "I had no idea that it was actually just full of middlemen." "First off," Daryl said, "even if hell was the final destination for souls, it would still be filled with middlemen. Secondly, hell is a multi-dimensional corporation. We don't just trade in souls. We have parts in all kinds of business. We just closed a big endorsement deal with an A-list movie star for one of our reverse mortgage companies." "Really?" I said. "You managed to get a movie star to sign a deal with Satan? How did you do that?" "Oh, it was easy," Daryl said, waving his hand dismissively. "We own 90% of all the souls in Hollywood." "Oh," I said. "Don't worry," Daryl said. "It takes a little moral flexibility at first, but I'm sure that you'll get used to it. And all things considered, it's not a bad place to work. We've got an excellent medical plan, for instance." "Really?" "Oh sure," said Daryl. "Just let our medical department know if any part of your body is bothering you and they'll remove it, almost totally free of charge. If you want anesthesia you'll have to pay for it yourself, though." Just then there was a terrible, blood-curdling scream from down the hall. "What was that?" I said. "Oh," said Daryl. "Jeremy from Human Resources had a hangnail, and the medical department opted to amputate his foot. Better safe than sorry. You know, if Jeremy doesn't have a foot he can't have any more expensive medical problems." I looked down at my feet and then thought about my own hangnail, and my stomach gave a sickening lurch. "I would like to opt out of the medical plan," I said. "I need all of my body parts to live." "Really?" said Daryl, raising his eyebrows. "If that's the case I'd stay away from the office shredder. It's terribly aggressive." I eyed the large metal paper shredder in the corner, the top of which was totally covered in fresh blood, and silently vowed never to go into that section of the office. "What do you mean aggressive?" I said. Just then a small, amphibious demon staring at a folder walked right by the shredder, and was promptly vaulted by a spring-loaded floor panel directly into the machine's mouth. There was a sick, wet grinding noise as blood sprayed all over the ceiling. "Damn it," Daryl said. "I keep telling the interns not to go near it but they always forget. We'll have to get a new badge from the local community college soon." My heart began to pound wildly in my chest, and bile rose in my stomach as I fought the urge to vomit. "Are you all right?" asked Daryl. "You look a little green." "I'm fine," I croaked out. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Maybe you need to go to the medical department." "No," I screamed. I'm fine. I'm just not sure I'm too comfortable with selling human souls." It's just business, David, he said. You know what that means, right? Yes, Well, Frank-and-Teddy is your training officer. I'll let him explain it to you. It's just business is what you say when you want to do something terrible and not feel bad about it afterwards, boomed Frank-and-Teddy. What? Said Daryl. No, that's not right at all. Frank-and-Teddy shrugged. That's what Satan told me, he said. You all are going to give me an aneurysm, said Daryl. Look, at the very least I'm sure you know we have a new project in the pipeline. It's the entire reason Satan hired you after all. Ah yes, I said. He mentioned something about that. Well, this is top secret, he said. He peered over his spectacles at Frank-and-Teddy. That means you need to leave, he said. I have the highest security clearance in hell, protested Frank-and-Teddy. Yes, said Daryl. You also have a big mouth and a head full of stuffing. Now get out and let David and I get to it. Fine, said Frank-and-Teddy. I didn't want to know anyway. Frank-and-Teddy stomped out of the office and slammed the door behind him. So can we talk about the secret project now? Daryl held up a hand to silence me. He picked up a sealed ream of paper from the desk and hurled it at the door. Ow, came Frank-and-Teddy's muffled voice from behind the door. It was quickly followed by the heavy sound of retreating footsteps. Now we can talk, said Daryl. So, you're an accountant, right? I assume you know how supply and demand works? Yes, vaguely at least. Good, said Daryl. Because as the middleman in the exchange of souls between worlds, our profit margins are totally dependent on controlling the flow of souls. You see, hell used to have a monopoly on selling souls to other dimensions. But lately, new competitors have sprouted up in the form of new religions. Combined with the global population increase, souls are being devalued at the same time we're losing control of the market. Okay, I said. You see, our investment in Hollywood has proved particularly lucrative, and allowed us to clinch high-value celebrity endorsement deals for pennies on the dollar. Using the cultural hub of America as our personal advertising agency also allows us to secure souls from all over the country. So our top priority is resecuring that market from the new fad religion that's stealing celebrity souls from us. Hold on, I said. Are you talking about Scientology? Said Daryl, looking around the room with a clear expression of paranoia. Never say this word around here. Are you trying to get sued? In our department we use a code word. From here on out, you're to refer to our work as BS, which is obviously short for beating. Well, you know. These. Right, I said. So how are we going to beat them? With clubs, eventually, said Daryl. But that comes later, after the economic ruin. After all, you can't get away with beating rich people to death in the street now, can you? No, I said. I guess not. Good, said Daryl. So we're on the same page. Now let's get started. He beckoned me to an old wooden door in the back of the office. There was a brown plastic plaque on the side of the room that read Disintegration Room. Daryl pushed the door open to darkness beyond, but I stood rooted to ground, unable to force my legs to move. He turned around and raised his eyebrows. Aren't you coming? He asked. I could feel the bile rising in my stomach again. Daryl? I asked. What's the Disintegration Room? Replied Daryl. That's the basis of our whole plan. All right, said Daryl, hand on the knob. Are you ready to have your mind blown? No, I said. Not really. That's the spirit, he said, pushing the door open. When I saw what was inside, my mind was more muddled than blown. There was a crowd of about 20 normal people in business suits, casually milling around and not doing much of anything. Daryl let out a long contended sigh. They're magnificent, aren't they? He said. That depends, I said. What are they? Daryl turned to me, and for the first time since I'd met him he was smiling, a mischievous gleam in his eye. What do you think they are? He asked. I don't know, I said. They just look like regular people to me. Ha, shouted Daryl, smacking his knee with his clipboard. Exactly. They look like regular people. Well, what are they then? I asked. Daryl waved the two of us inside and walked us around the room. Once I got a closer look at the people milling around, I realized there was something slightly off about the lot of them. Their eyes were all just a bit too wide and they all wore broad smiles for no perceivable reason. One of my more brilliant ideas, said Daryl. As you probably know, celebrity souls go for 3 times the price as regular ones. They do? I asked. Of course, said Daryl. Something clicked, and I said, oh, I think I get it. You're going to take these people and turn them into pseudo-celebrities. Wow, that idea is not half bad, he said, scribbling a note on his file. Then, clearing his throat, he went on. But these guys are for something else, he said. I've already explained the basics of Project BS to you, so I'll go ahead and move on to the particulars. Okay, I said. What we do with these guys is use them to infiltrate. See, they all may look like normal humans, but they're actually just demons in human skin suits. They're down here practicing how to be human. After that, we swap out the top-level cult leaders for demonic clones. But why is it called the disintegration room? I asked. An ugly smile of impish pleasure distorted Daryl's features. Because of this, he said. He turned around and grabbed a red-handled lever on the wall behind him, yanking it downwards. There was a loud squish, and I winced as flecks of blood landed on my face. Half the people of the room had been reduced to chunky puddles. Why did you do that? I asked, trying to wipe the blood off my face but only managing to smear it. Those were the real ones, Daryl said. We bring them down here and tell them it's a top-secret you-know-what compound. That they're involved in something special and that if they help us they'll be rewarded in paradise or Valhalla, or whatever heaven it is that their crackpot religion professes. I think scienterm, they believe in reincarnation. Well, this is more like deincarnation, said Daryl. He laughed throatily at his own pun. Right, I said. So as an accountant, what exactly is supposed to be my role in all this? Daryl frowned and scratched at his wobbly chin. Well, he said. What we really needed was a master in satanic accounting, to keep track of the boring paperwork. But since you're not qualified for that, we'll have to find another place for you. Are you any good at making coffee? No. You're not by any chance certified to give shiatsu massages? What? No. Well, that really only leaves one position available, then. We need someone, a real human, to take over as the head of the cult, religion, whatever you want to call it. Would you be comfortable wearing a human skin suit to work? Not even a little, I said. Well, I'm afraid it's either that or eternal damnation for breach of contract. Great, Daryl said, another broad grin stretching across his fat lips and wobbly chin. We'll send you back up to Earth to secure the package then. You'll need to bring this. He rummaged in his pockets and pulled out a gun that looked like something out of a science fiction movie. What the hell does this thing do? But Daryl was already checking his watch, an ostentatious Rolex with a tight leather band that dug into the fat of his wrist, and must have misheard the question. Just point and shoot, he said absent-mindedly. Ah, here it is. He pressed a button on the side of his watch and my stomach lurched as the world disappeared into a sudden darkness. I was hurtling through the dark, cool air roaring by my ears as my body rocketed upwards. Suddenly I found myself face down on the floor of my living room, a thin trickle of drool leaking out of the corner of my mouth. My head was spinning as I pushed myself into a sitting position. My wobbly gaze was met by the wide plastic grins of acolytes Paul and Stephen. Good to see you in tip-top shape, sir, said acolyte Paul. We'd better get to work.